You're listening to the Femtrepreneur Show, and this is episode 38. In this episode, we're talking about whether or not webinars are still working in 2017 and if they're worth it for you to start doing them. Hey guys, I'm Mariah.
And I'm Megan, and I'm really excited to talk about webinars because I think people ask us a ton of webinar questions. This episode is kind of kicking off a little series, if you will, where we're going to be digging deep into webinars and all the questions you guys keep asking us. So I think it's great to kind of start off with, are they worth it? So I'd love for you to answer that, Mariah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we get the question a lot, like, are webinars dead? You know, people are like, are webinars over? Like, they had their day and now they're not worth it to do it anymore. You know, are people still signing up for webinars? I see a lot of Facebook threads where people are like, I hate webinars. Like, does anyone else, I stopped going to webinars or whatever. Or I see people saying things like, I've never done a webinar yet. Is it a good time for me to start doing webinars? Is it too late? Right? A lot of people are like, is it too late for me to start doing webinars if I haven't started doing them yet? And I see, a lot of people just ask me, is it worth it? Like, should I be doing them for my business? Like, this podcast episode is going to be 1 minute long. Yes, it's worth it. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to keep going. But the bottom line is that no matter which way you cut it, no matter what you've seen people say, I think there's a lot of people who are sensationally being like, webinars, like they're not working anymore. But like, I can say from me and, thousands of our students can say from all of our experiences that, of course, webinars are still working. They're very much working. That being said, the way that you are going to do successful webinars in 2017 and beyond looks different than if you were starting to do webinars 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So I definitely, like, what we're going to talk about today is what's actually working in webinars in 2017. Like, what's working right now? What do I see working going into the future? And what are some of the things that have changed, right? Because a lot of the strategies have changed in the last few years. And in order for you to do a webinar that is engaging and compelling and something that people are actually going to stick around for, because yes, there are more webinars available online than there were 2 years ago, mostly because of Webinar Rockstar, let's be honest. We have thousands more people doing webinars because of our programs. And yes, that does mean that there's more people doing them, but all that means is that there are a few tweaks you're going to want to make. There's a few things you're going to want to do differently so that your webinars are really relevant and really delivering to people what they need right now, responding to the market, responding to how people are feeling, right? Because if people are saying, oh gosh, I don't have time to do all these webinars, how are we going to respond? We're going to make our webinars shorter. If people are saying, gosh, I can't deal with this webinar that's 30 minutes of like just listening to this person talk about themselves in the beginning. Okay, well, we're going to cut that entire section out. And we're going to really change the way that webinars are delivered because we're responding to how people are feeling. Now, by and far, like, webinars are still the very best and fastest way to grow your email list, to build up your trust and your authority in your industry, right? To create trust and connection with your audience. And definitely the best and fastest way to make sales for sure. There's no denying that it's absolutely worth it for you to do webinars. Someone once asked me, like, do I have to do webinars in my business? Is it required? Well, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything. It's your business, but it's going to make everything go so much faster, right? You could be creeping along trying to build your email list, but if you do webinars, your email list is going to explode. So the question for you is really like, are you willing to step out of your comfort zone and show up and do a webinar in order to make things happen faster for you?
Yeah, I definitely think webinars are like the fast track. And
yes, I feel like
so
that
many
too.
times, you guys listening, maybe you felt like this in your business before where you're like trying all these different strategies and nothing is really making a huge impact. Like, you're getting a trickle here and there.
Right.
Webinars are just like, you get hundreds of new people. Like, you get a surge of new people and a big list surge from doing these webinars. That's why Femtrepreneur grew so fast, because Mariah was doing at least one webinar every single week. So, there's a balance. Maybe you can't do it every week and you do it less often, but even when you do it, you will see like a much more substantial growth in a shorter period of time.
Definitely. I love what you said. It's the fast track. I feel like that too. It's not necessary, but it is the fast track, which why wouldn't you want to do that? So one of the points I want to make too is that there are so many people listening today that are in an industry where webinars are not saturated, right? So how many people might be listening right now thinking, gosh, there aren't any, and there isn't anyone doing webinars in my specific niche, or there's no one in my industry doing webinars. You might even be thinking, my audience doesn't even know what a webinar is, or my industry isn't familiar with seeing a webinar. I'm not sure if anyone's going to sign up. If you're in that position, if you're in a position where you're really not in a saturated market where no one's doing webinars yet, you are sitting on a gold mine, and you should be the first person to do that. Exactly. There's so many people that will be like, well, no one in my industry does webinars. None of the bloggers or none of the people in my niche are doing webinars. So I guess the audience just doesn't want them. It's like, no, they probably just never figured out how. They never even thought about it. If you can be the first person to bring this amazing, valuable webinar to your specific industry or niche, you're going to crush it, because people are not being bombarded in that particular niche with like tons of webinars happening every single day, all day. So definitely think about that. If you are in that position, oh my gosh, webinars are 100 times more worth it for you.
Yeah, don't wait. Start now.
Exactly.
So what would you say? Yeah. So what would you say, whether you're in a saturated market or not, what are the things that are working now and that are changes to maybe how people used to do webinars?
Definitely. So we're going to talk about 3 things that I think you should be doing differently going forward as you do your webinars that are different than what was working a year ago. Okay. Things have definitely really changed in the last year. The first thing is to keep your webinars really, really short. So there was a time when the sort of accepted way of doing things was have a webinar. It should be 90 minutes. It should be 2 hours. Like, there's kind of this idea of like, the more you give, the better, right? Like I just did a 3-hour webinar. I delivered so much value, 3 hours worth of value. Well, guess what? People don't actually see value in more, especially today when there's a lot of webinars, there's a lot of opportunities, people are busy. You are actually going to be stand out if you specifically promote that your webinar is going to be short and to the point, and it's not going to waste time, and you're not going to give a 20-minute background story about how you used to, be super poor and awful and miserable, and now you're the best, and like, just cut all that out and shorten it down. So this is one of the biggest shifts that we're seeing in webinars right now is people successfully saying, you know what, I'm actually just going to do a 30-minute webinar start to finish instead, and focus on like one quick strategy that I can teach instead of giving someone a 2-hour commitment. And what happens is if you have a webinar that long, you're going to have a lot of drop off, right? You're going to have a lot of people fall off towards the end. So the biggest thing is that these webinars need to be short, okay? There's no more of these 2-hour long extravaganzas.
And also, and correct me if I'm wrong too, but you're talking about like start to finish. Does that 30-minute mark like include a Q&A at the end?
To me, the 30 minutes is when you should be like wrapping up and then going into the Q&A. So you might be live for like 45 minutes total.
Yeah, because we've seen a lot. We like to end our webinars with a Q&A while we have an offer that's like expiring or wrapping it up, and we'd like to answer questions live. And you'll be surprised. You might get a lot of questions, and you might want to answer more than you think. That was an issue we used to run into, is we would have an hour to a 90-minute webinar, and then we would have like a 30-minute Q&A, and it just adds up. So by having a 30-minute, it's a 30-minute solid webinar, then if you want to do a 5, 10, 15-minute Q&A at the end, you're still in a really good place time-wise. People are going to stick around for that more often than if it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So
definitely
keep that in mind too.
Yeah, and I think the whole theme here, our second tip for you for, what's working right now is that your topic must be specific and really small and just provide one tiny quick win for people. So the theme here is sort of less is more, right? Both in the time that you spend, in the time commitment people need to make in order to get something out of your webinar. You want to shorten that. And instead of doing what you might have seen 2 years ago or 3 years ago, a lot of webinars that are like, the 7-step process for, building your house, or the 7-step process for starting a business. And it's this like giant overview that just goes through every phase or every step of a huge project, right? Like building a house is like too big. So I see a lot of people make the mistake of doing a webinar where the topic is this sort of like just really trite, really overdone 7 steps to doing XYZ. And what they're doing is outlining like what could be a 6-month or even 12-month process. And they're just outlining that. The thing that happens is that people go to that webinar, they're taking notes, they're getting 6 months worth of tasks and ideas and things that they're thinking about. And then by the time you get to your pitch, they're like, gosh, I have so much to do. I haven't even gotten through all this stuff, or, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. This is too much. It just doesn't actually help you because it's too big and it's too much. So what we want you to do is like, what's going to be more appealing to more people, especially if you're in an industry where webinars might be a little bit saturated, is to just teach a tiny quick strategy or quick win, something that someone can get some sort of impact from in 20 minutes, right? What's something you can share in 20 minutes that is a tiny quick win? We're not talking that you're going to change someone's entire life in 20 minutes, but if you can give them a tiny tool or a tiny strategy that they can start to see, wow, this is really working, that's going to have the biggest impact. People are going to want to take the next step with you too, if you can give them that tiny quick win. So no more of these 7 steps to doing XYZ, and it's this huge overview of stuff. Really get small, specific, get tiny.
Because especially as you're looking at your audience and your students and customers, they need to experience that win. Like if they can be on this webinar with you and see how you teach and walk away and be like, wow, I just solved this one problem that I've been dealing with. Like I haven't known how to do this one piece of the puzzle, and now I'm walking away from this free webinar knowing how to do that. Like this solved a very real issue they were having. And now they're going to be convinced that whatever you are offering or selling, you'll deliver on that promise too, because you've delivered on this promise and given them a win and a solution that now they know when you teach, you're teaching real stuff. Like it's not fluff. Whereas the other style can also, to me at least, now when I sit through a webinar that follows that old approach, it feels kind of fluff. Like what am I really walking away from? I don't really have any new knowledge unless if I do, I'm overwhelmed or I don't really know how to take action, and I don't feel confident that this person, is this just how they teach? Do they just teach me fluff and leave me overwhelmed? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my rant.
Definitely. It's spot on. And then the third thing that's really changing with, some tweaks that you want to make going into this year and beyond is, here's the truth. The old way of doing webinars where you didn't have to show your face and you could just get away with just showing a presentation and no one ever saw you or who you are, those aren't going to be working much longer. Those are not, obviously there's people who do that, but if you want to stand out and you want to take it to the next level and you want to stand out in a sea of webinars, you have to build real connection. And that means, despite it being scary for some people, being on camera for the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of your webinar. So this is what I call a hybrid style webinar. It's where you are on the camera greeting people and introducing yourself. They can see you. They can see your face. They can see that you're a real person, right? In the first 10 minutes of your webinar, and then you switch over to sharing your slides, you teach your content, and then at the end of the webinar, you turn off the slide sharing and you show yourself again. And you're there answering people's questions, looking into the camera, being yourself. you don't have to be fancy. You don't have to look a certain way. Doesn't really matter. Guys, I do all my webinars like in my pajamas with like just a messy bun. It doesn't have to be fancy, but you do have to create that connection, because the thing is that people are sick and tired of these like super stuffy, over prepared, scripted webinars. They're too perfect. They're too stuffy. They're not fun. I mean, the whole point of Webinar Rockstar, our webinar course, is to make webinars fun again. Like, webinars have the potential to be so much fun for you. When you're doing them with your co-host, it could just be this like amazing party where your audience is having fun and you're all laughing together and telling jokes. Like, it could just be this amazing fun thing, or it can be this like soul-sucking deadpan presentation. And I don't want it to turn into that. So make it fun. Show yourself, show your personality. This is what's going to be required. You can't just teach the content in a monotone voice. That's no longer good enough. You have to bring it.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point too, because when we do webinars, I walk away on such a high.
Yes.
Like, even if it was stressful getting ready and I got butterflies when we went live and I was kind of nervous, like all of that goes away when you start building that real connection. So we always have like a live chat feature. So we're actually communicating with our audience throughout the entire webinar. And if someone says something funny, we'll probably bring it up and talk about it and laugh about it. Or like, we walk away feeling like so much more connected to our audience, and like we had a blast doing it. So if you really open yourself up to that, you can definitely experience that. But I do think it takes the face-to-face, at least on their end, to see you, to really foster that type of environment.
Definitely. It's going to make a huge difference and really help you stand out.
Yeah, well, hopefully this helps answer the question. If you've been wondering if webinars will still work for you, hopefully the answer is yes, in case you missed that. And also, hopefully these tips will help you take your webinars to the next level when you do start doing them this year. So make sure you go to thefemshow.com/38 for the show notes to this episode, and you'll find the links to all of the resources we mentioned. We do have a freebie for you called our Ultimate Webinar Checklist. So if you're interested in doing webinars, definitely check it out. It's got checklists. It's got some great stuff in there.
It's
You'll
everything
be blown
from
away.
like 7 days before your webinar, 2 days before your webinar, day of your webinar, day after your webinar. It's like 5 or 6 daily checklists for every day leading up to your webinar. It's super valuable.
Yeah, it's amazing. So the link to that is in our blog post at thefemshow.com/38. And if you want to discuss this episode with us and our amazing community of online entrepreneurs, make sure you join our free Facebook group at thefemshow.com/community.
And if you like this episode, subscribe to the Femtrepreneur Show on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review. We super appreciate it when you do that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below with your thoughts, because we like reading them and talking to you guys. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget, if you have a question you want us to answer, go to thefemshow.com, submit your questions. We'll give you a shout out on the show. And we will see you next time.
I've got my wine, as you suggested. I'm also glad I poured this glass of wine, because I realized that we were out of wine after this glass.
Oh my gosh.
So now Johnny can pick up more on his way home.
That's, can you imagine how sad you would be if you went there later
right?
and you were like, only one glass?
I was like, this worked out really well.